Everyone.
Jean, do you want to make an announcement for everyone?
Good evening, everyone out there in the audience. We're going to convene our meeting. If you'd like to speak during public comment, I just remind you to fill out one of the forms and drop it in the little basket if you would. The time is 5:31. I'm going to convene the Board of Directors work session. Item number 2 is a public complaint appeal. This is the time we have set aside from our regular business to hear an appeal of complaints from Susan Kavari. The general procedure for this agenda item will be as follows. We will provide a brief introduction to the matter. Ms. Kavari will be allowed 10 minutes to address the board as to her complaints. Vice Chair McCloskey and Chair Dominguez will then address the prior handling of Ms. Kavari's complaint. The board will then have an opportunity to discuss the matter. Any decision on the appeal will take place in the regular meeting currently set out as agenda item number 12 during the regular business meeting. Do we have county council or council on?
Yes, Ross is
online. So to introduce this matter for the board, I have the following comments. On May 4th, 2026, Susan Kavari submitted an email with 23 separate complaints. Her submission contained a full packet of information consisting of many dozens of pages. We all received the material. We, meaning the board, has all received the material. Ms. Kavari's complaints referred to MACRD Policy 2022-04, which relates to the board's adopted public complaint policy. The purpose statement for Policy 2022-04 states, the purpose of this policy is to provide a consistent framework for responding to feedback, concerns, and complaints from the public. On May 14th, after we both reviewed the complaints, both being Chair Dominguez and myself, we responded in writing to Ms. Kavari's complaint. We addressed each of her 23 separate items. In short, we found no basis to take further action in relation to her complaints. Ms. Kavari is now seeking review from the full board. The full board has been provided with the significant volume of information that Ms. Kavari submitted in relation to her original complaints and in support of her appeal of the May 14th decision. Ms. Kavari asked for more than 10 minutes to make a presentation to the board. Given Ms. Kavari's demonstrated ability to communicate in writing on this matter, which she has done, we do not see a reason to extend the oral presentation timeline. Ms. Kavari is encouraged to give us additional information that is not already included in the packets that we have in front of us. In addition, the 10 minutes she is being provided is already provided as an accommodation because she has asked for more time in the past. The oral presentation is just a time for her to emphasize anything she wishes to from her written materials. The oral presentation is not a time to restate everything she has already submitted to the board. Less than 10 minutes would be adequate possibly for this purpose, so the 10 minutes is already more than necessary. She has had sufficient time to provide her extensive arguments to the board in advance of this meeting. But I will say, if the board wants to extend the timeline to 15 minutes, I can entertain a motion at this time.
I would just say that I don't feel it's our place to determine someone's ability or inability to present information in a certain amount of time. And so I think we told her it would be 10 minutes and she's prepared for 10 minutes and we should continue with that.
Okay, so hearing no motion to change that, I ask the board to give Ms. Kavari their full attention as she makes her presentation. If you have any questions for Ms. Gavari, please save them for the end of her presentation. Board Secretary to please provide Ms. Gavari with a 2-minute warning. Since our Board Secretary is not here, Cora, can you set a timer? And when it gets to be about 2 minutes, towards the end of that 10 minutes, would you let Ms. Gavari know?
Yes.
And then you'll let us know when her speaking time is finished.
Okay.
Yep. Is Ms. Gavari in the audience?
Yes. She's on Zoom.
She's on Zoom?
Yes.
Okay, Ms. Gavari, you may have the board's full attention at this time.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good evening. My name is Susan Kavari. I'm here to present my appeal regarding 10 complaints involving the executive director. I want to clarify the purpose of the appeal at the beginning. This appeal is not because I expected Executive Director Sneed to answer complaints about herself. The opposite is true. These complaints involved Executive Director conduct, records handling, decision-making, financial and budget administration, evaluation, and contract renewal issues. Because the complaints involve the Executive Director, she should not have been the person substantively answering, screening, framing, routing, or managing the response to them. That responsibility belonged to the board, and that is why I am appealing. The board told me to follow the process. I did.
I'm going to pause, and I do not want to be deducted from my time, but I would like my PowerPoint presented further. Thank you.
The complaints. I identified which complaints involved the executive director. I asked that they be handled under the executive director complaint process. I asked for routing, tracking, review, and a written decision. But what I received were short answers. Some were one sentence, some were conclusions, some were deflections, some admitted something went wrong, but gave no follow-up mechanism. None showed a complete board process for complaints involving the executive director. The issue tonight is not whether Courtney Sneed agrees with the complaints. The issue is whether the board independently handled them. The PowerPoint shows each originating complaint, the max exact response, and what is missing from the board's handling. Complaint 7 involved employee public comment, meeting neutrality, and the chair's failure to redirect public attacks during the March 30 meeting. The MAC response says the board failed to control this at the March 30th.
I'm going to ask again to please advance the slide to complaint number 7.
Meeting, as well as several other meetings in the past year. Well, that's an important admission, but there's no finding, no corrective action, no written standard going forward, no statement that employees may not use public comment in an employee role to defend management or personally attack community members, and no tracking mechanism to ensure it does not happen again. If the board admits it failed to control public comment, the next step should be board action, not just a sentence saying it happened. Complaint 8 involved the March 30 MAC aquatic programming overview and the Core 5 narrative. The MAC answered that the staff prepared a great overview of the programming and proposed summer schedule. Well, that does not answer the complaint. The issue was whether staff and the executive director were allowed to use a public meeting presentation to reinforce a favorable management narrative while public controversy, complaints, litigation, recall activity, and executive director renewal concerns were pending. The response does not say who requested it, who approved it, whether the executive director shaped it, or whether future presentations should be clearly identified and limited to neutral operational information. Complaint 9 involved the $50,000 Matters Swim Team public records matter. The MAC responded that it could not produce records it did not have, and that, in hindsight, more direct research with the bank could have been made. Well, that answer does not address the board's oversight responsibility. The complaint asked why direct bank research was not done before district attorney involvement, why the executive director represented that the record could be forwarded to me, but instead intentionally routed it elsewhere, and whether records involving public funds and the executive director's own conduct should be handled through a neutral process. This was not Courtney's issue to explain away. It was the board's issue to review. Complaint 10 involved public records fee barriers, executive director gatekeeping, and the lack of a neutral records process. The MAC responded, public records requests are to go through the executive director. There is no one else on staff to fill them. Well, that response proves the concern. If every records request involving the executive director's own conduct must go through the executive director, then there is no neutral process. The board did not address whether routine records work could be separated from executive review, whether lower cost staff could perform clerical retrieval, or whether a neutral designee should be used when the request involves the executive director herself. Complaint 11 involved the $50,000 Matters Swim Team Oregon Community Fund Summer Learning Grant and scoreboard financial records. The MAC answered that it produced all the records it had. But the board did not identify what record categories were searched, what records exist, what records do not exist, whether records were destroyed, what retention schedule was applied, or whether the MAC could certify non-existence of the missing accounting records. A complete response should not simply say, we produced what we have. It should identify the search, the missing categories, and the basis for the answer. Complaint 12 involved the Matters Swim Team Summer 2025 facility use while the pool was closed to the public and no active fiscal year 25-26 agreement existed. The MAC answered, correct. The board had voted to give partners access in summer. Operationally, the ED would do a rental permit and no facility use agreement was required. Well, that answer raises serious board approval questions. Where is that board vote? What meeting? What motion? What minutes? Which partners? Was the Matters Swim Team specifically authorized? Did the board approve the Matters Swim Team use while the pool was closed to the public? Did the rental permit come before or after use? And how does that answer fit with the later October discussion, beginning negotiation of a new Matters Swim Team facility use agreement? If the board indeed voted, the public record should show the vote. If the board did not vote, the May 14th response should be corrected. Complaint 16 involved consultant independence, the SDAO wage analysis, and executive director renewal. The MAC answered that concerns were heard and noted, and that wage studies came within a range of the board weighted, revised, and adopted. Heard and noted is not board review of a complaint. The complaint was about consultant independence, prior relationship, scope, and whether recommending renewal exceeded the consultant's role. It also asked whether renewal should proceed before the executive director complaints were processed. The board did not answer that. Complaint 17 involved missing or inconsistent executive director evaluation materials. The MAC answered that the compilation was not completed in time, was later provided, and that there is no legal requirement for the public to see it. Well, that avoids the oversight question. The issue was why comparable public evaluation materials were missing, whether the board relied on undisclosed materials, and whether evaluation transparency would be resolved before renewal. Complaint 18 involved the $10,000 donation, fundraising disclosure, and accounting transparency. The MAC answered that there's no legal requirement for donor information, and that does not answer the complaint.
Susan, we lost your sound on that last response on number 18. You beeped out there for a second. You want to repeat it, please?
I can do my best.
The May 14th response should be corrected. Complaint 16 involved consultant independence, the SDAO wage analysis.
It was number 18.
Renewal. The MAC answered that concerns were heard and noted.
You must have it on a recording.
I am going to do my best. You're going to have to listen to the re-record, and I apologize for that, and do not dock my time. I am handicapped. This is the best I can do to do it within my time.
This came within a range of the board weighted, revised, and adopted. Heard and noted. It's not board review of a complaint. The complaint was about consultant independence, prior relationship, scope, and whether recommending renewal exceeded the consultant's role. It also asked whether renewal should proceed before the executive director complaints were processed. The board did not answer that. Complaint 17 involved missing or inconsistent executive director evaluation materials. The MAC answered that the compilation was not completed in time, was later provided, and that there is no legal requirement for the public to see it. Well, that avoids the oversight question. The issue was why comparable public evaluation materials were missing, whether the board relied on undisclosed materials, and whether evaluation transparency would be resolved before renewal. Complaint 18 involved the $10,000 donation, fundraising disclosure, and accounting transparency. The MAC answered that there's no legal requirement to disclose donor information, and that donation amounts are reflected in the general fund financials. Well, that does not answer the complaint. The complaint asked about donor identity unless lawfully exempt, date received, purpose, restrictions, accounting treatment, board acceptance, and whether the funds were spent, reserved, or applied. This is a board financial oversight issue. It should not be reduced to a one-line statement. Complaint 20 involved the fiscal year 25-26 budget approval defect and failure to correct after notice. The MAC answered that the Department of Revenue correspondence was included in the October 27 packet. No corrective changes or actions were noted, and the review was closed. Well, that does not answer what the board did after the notice. The complaint asked what action the MAC took after the Department of Revenue notice, what action was taken after the auditor identified the defect, whether the budget committee was reconvened, whether the MAC continued spending under the challenged budget, and whether this relates to the executive director's performance as a budget officer. Again, the issue is not whether Courtney agrees. The issue is whether the board reviewed and acted. Across these 10 complaints, the pattern is the same. The complaints involve the executive director. The board had the responsibility to handle them independently. Instead, the responses are short, incomplete, and do not show board-level intake, routing, tracking, findings, corrective action, or final written decisions. That is why I provided sample intake and routing forms, not because the MAC needs paperwork for the sake of paperwork, but because a public body should be able to show complaint received, complaint categorized, responsible reviewer assigned, conflict identified, records preserved, board action taken, and written decision issued. That is why I referenced Dr. Lewis's role. Dr. Lewis has served on this board for probably over 10 years. As a physician, she is familiar with formal complaint systems where the subject of a complaint does not control the complaint process. Whether in a hospital or in a medical board or joint commission setting, the basic principle is the same. Complaints require intake, routing, review, documentation, and resolution. I'm not asking Dr. Lewis to apply hospital rules to the MAC. I'm asking her to recognize the same common sense accountability standard here. My appeal request is straightforward. I'm asking the board to acknowledge that the May 14th responses did not independently resolve these 10 executive director complaints. I'm asking the board to identify which complaints will be investigated, which will be placed on a board work session, and which are declined with written reasons. I'm asking the board to identify whether any executive director related complaint was improperly answered, controlled, or routed by the executive director. I'm asking the board to create a traceable complaint record for each of the 10 complaints. I'm asking the board to issue a final written decision addressing each allegation and the reasons for the board's decision. I'm asking that these complaints be considered before any final executive director contract renewal, continuation, or compensation decision. My closing point is this: Courtney Sneed did not need to answer these complaints. She was the subject of them. The board needed to answer them. The board needed to process them. The board needed to show its work. That did not happen. That is why I am appealing. Thank you.
And thank you very much for my time.
So Susan, I just want to point out on that number 18 about the donor information. My response was there is no legal requirement to disclose donor information as some wish to remain anonymous. Donation amounts are reflected in the general fund financials.
I understand what your response was. That wasn't the answer to my question. So if you want to go back and—
Were there any questions for Susan from the board? Did you have any questions for Susan? And I will state that Chair Dominguez and I met twice. We answered these complaints. They were not answered by the executive director.
I think I read in one of the email correspondence that you first sat down with the executive director and Chair Dominguez.
Yes.
3 of you.
Yes, because some of those concerns, we had to have her input, such as the MST agreements. You know, we needed to know what was there and what wasn't there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I think my impression is that part of Susan's concern with all of this was that she was asking for more board oversight. And not, you know, if we were asking the executive director what happened or how we should answer to something. So I think that's—
Well, we were not asking her how to answer to something, Cora, but we were asking for her input on some of the topics that we didn't know what the answers were. These were not all concerns that were directed at performance of the executive director.
Out of the 23.
Out of the 23, yes.
See.
Yes. Any more discussion? Nope. Well, then I think we can convene our work session and move right into our business meeting. The time is 5:51. We are going to convene the Board of Directors business meeting. Roll call. Chair Dominguez is absent. Vice Chair McCloskey is present. Secretary Treasurer Lewis is absent. Board Member Hollyman.
Present.
Board Member Maynard.
Here.
Y'all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Courtney, do I have that land acknowledgement buried in here somewhere? There it is. Thank you, Frank. Every community owes its existence and vitality to generations from around the world who contributed their hopes, dreams, and energy to making the history that led to this moment. Some were brought here against their will, some were drawn to leave their distant homes in hope of a better life, and some have lived on this land for more generations than can be counted. Truth and acknowledgement are critical in building mutual respect and connection across all barriers of heritage and difference. We begin this effort to acknowledge what has been buried by honoring the truth. In Central Oregon, we are standing on the ancestral lands of the Wasco, Warm Springs, and Paiute people. We pay respects to their elders, past and present. That. I am looking for a motion to adopt the agenda as presented.
I move to adopt the agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to adopt the agenda.
Aye.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Item number 7, public hearing for the 27 budget adoption. Opportunity for the public input. It was published in the Madras Pioneer on June 10th, 2026. Okay, item A, public comment, public hearing, order to note the time. Okay. So I have quite a few in front of me, but who I'd like are the ones that want to talk about the budget. Looks like Trudy wishes to talk about the budget. Trudy Haugen.
And for the record, Jean opened the public hearing at 5:54 p.m.
Are these timed, Jean?
Yes.
Is it on?
Is it 3?
Yeah, same as public comment. Yeah.
Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Okay. For the record, Trudy Haugen. And I just wanted to say that I appreciated the budget process this year. I appreciated that our community members that spoke were listened to. I appreciate that the budget passed with a majority vote and wasn't sent off with no's. So that was really good to see. I would like to say that I would really appreciate if the budget committee members at large, I think they had a lot of value to bring to the table as far as just someone that isn't in the weeds every day. for helping find expenses that could be cut. I would really like to see maybe a subcommittee put together where maybe they check in quarterly. Because, you know, we know that there are expenditures that happen that's over $500 that the board doesn't approve. And I really liked some of the ideas that they came up with. As a community member that's had issues with spending, it made me feel a lot more confident. Just the fact that community members could come to the table and actually be heard. But I hope we follow through, because that budget committee also requested that employees go down to 30 hours a week last year, and some that never happened. So I would like to see the things they're requesting to be followed through. And at some point, I would really like this board to take responsibility and be accountable for the fact that there was a huge budget error last year, and it isn't good for the community, for taxpayers, as far as for feeling confident that we're being taken care of correctly in the district. And I think responsibility is important. Maybe not just denial. There was a problem. Your audit shows it. Department of Revenue letters show it. So why don't you show it? I don't think we need to hide about it anymore. Just take responsibility for what was, and make sure that people who are employed by the district to make sure that the basic budget law is carried through, that they're responsible for that. Someone has to be responsible for it. It can't just be concerned community members that are responsible for everything. Community members are not concerned if things are done correctly. And this year is a perfect example. So it was a very good budget year, and I enjoyed it.
Thank you, Trudy. Did anybody else have any comments they wanted to make about the budget process? No, seeing none.
My name is Jerry Colin. I'm very happy to see that the MAC is in the black. And I know that has to be very difficult. We don't have the other recreational activities to bring money in. And I know there's, we still need a maintenance budget, but I very much appreciate that you have been able to do that. The executive director has been able to do that, and you have helped. So it is great news. Thanks.
Thank you, Jerry. Any other budget comments from the public? Anything on Zoom?
If anyone on Zoom would like to speak, if you could raise your hands, I could ask you to unmute. This is the budget hearing session.
There gonna be any?
Nobody's raising their hands.
There'll be public comment. There'll be public comment later. Yeah, this is just the budget process. Thank you.
Okay, no one on Zoom has raised their
No one on Zoom. So are we looking for a motion at this time to adopt the budget?
No, that
Comes a little later.
comes a little later on the agenda.
Going to move on to item 8 then.
Correct.
Do we need to note the time that we close the hearing as 6:00 p.m.?
Thank you,
6
Cora.
o'clock straight up. Thank you, Cora. Item 8, correspondence, patron comment card, emails, communications. You got anything?
Board members, in your packet, you received several emails and correspondence. The first one is an email formal complaint regarding the pickleball club. And so you can see the email correspondence related to that. Let me keep going here. Secondly, is a flyer that we received regarding the Madras Sparklers fireworks show and an ask for donations to help support that. We have correspondence from the Oregon Health Authority following up on lifeguard staffing questions related to slide staffing. And it took them a couple months, but they got back to us. And the new rule is not as clear as the old rule as it relates to who needs to be at the top of the slide. We do have to have a staff member at the top, but it does not have to be a lifeguard. So we are moving forward under this new documented interpretation, and they indicate that they're planning to make it clearer in future rules when they update them.
So you've started using a deck attendant at the top now.
That's correct. When we have one available, and if not, then we do put a lifeguard. I mean, starting July 1, minimum wage is $14.55 an hour, which is what we pay our deck attendants, and lifeguards start at $15. So it really
It's not much of a difference.
is not that much of a difference at this.
It's good to have some form of clarification there. I know county
Yes.
council has asked about that repeatedly all winter long.
Yes, and I did forward this on to her as well.
Did you?
And maybe that's a position that we could consider looking into a volunteer program for. If
It's possible. It's hard to rely on volunteers for ongoing operations like that. It's easier to use them in terms of like if we have a table set up for marketing and they want to market, you know, at the fair or at the air show. That's a one-time deal rather than, you know, 5, 6 open swims a week to have volunteers. That's just more to manage, I guess.
We should put it out there somehow. Volunteer opportunities for the MAC and list some of the different options and ideas.
Sure.
Yeah, just see if
Yeah.
we get a response back.
Yeah, I think the community's been very vocal that they want more open swims, and if we can give them an opportunity to make that be able to happen, you know.
Yep, we can certainly do that. OHA also released that they are revisiting the pool rule requiring that adults accompany kids under 14. So they've gotten a lot of feedback from across the state that middle school kids should be able to be dropped off at the pool without an adult hanging out. And so they've changed the language for now to say that they highly recommend that those under 14 have an adult. What we're doing is for any child that is 11 and up, we have a form that the parent or guardian can fill out that has them agree to some rules, has them agree that, you know, if there are any issues, safety issues that their child might be, we might call 911 for their child, and they kind of accept that as part of that process. It asks them to write down their phone number and ways to get a hold of any other emergency contacts. And then once we have that on file, anyone who's 11 and up can be dropped off at the pool without an adult in the building for the summer.
So the age 11, is that it's clear through OHA? No, that's not clear.
No. So our local rule has always been anyone under 8 is required to have someone in the pool with them. And then age 11 is 6th graders. So that's why we've chosen that age. So the cutoff is elementary school kiddos need to have someone in the building, or if they're under 8 in the pool, anyone middle school and up can be dropped off. And then we'll wait and see what the new rule looks like, because they're going to go through a process now to update it again.
Has there been any communication, like within the aquatic of STAO or other partners of how they're managing this there?
No, we had I missed the aquatic section meeting. I'm sure that they must have talked about it through the ORPA.
Yeah.
We've talked about this rule in the past, that it's helpful to have some way of getting in touch with parents if kids are, you know, not listening or if they get hurt. So I think from a safety perspective, we're comfortable with most middle schoolers are, they might be a little twerpy, but they're following the rules and they're doing what they're supposed to do, right? So we've never really had an issue with that middle school age. It's really when they get under that it's nice to have a parent in the building. So that's kind of why our staff got together and talked through what it would be the best for our building and our pools. And this is how we've decided to move forward. But I'm certain that there will be conversations coming up about it.
Yeah. Yeah, because I remember reading about at the Cascade Swim Center in Redmond that they had a program similar where they had, parents had to sign waivers and then they were rescinding that whenever this law came out. But do we have a plan for communicating that, or is it on our website yet, or not quite yet?
It's not there yet. We're still finalizing the form and trying to make sure that all our ducks in a row and all the staff are aware.
Yeah.
And so as soon as we get through that process, I'm guessing our summer schedule starts this upcoming week. So we'll be making it clear.
Okay.
Yeah. Then there's an email requesting renewal of accommodation for public comment time for the board to discuss. And then a formal grievance regarding ADA Title II objections and public meetings law notice. And as a formal grievance, we've requested that Ross respond on behalf of the district. And that is correspondence.
Courtney, I had sent you an email this afternoon, but last year when we did this, when we approved the ADA accommodation, did we include it in how did that process go?
That was a discussion that board chair and vice chair, I believe, had with Ross and myself, and a determination was made. I do believe the email was included in correspondence, but I'm not 100% sure. I'd have to go back and look.
Okay. I was surprised to see it in correspondence. I wasn't aware that the board did a vote or anything for renewing that. So. I guess I would just say I have concerns if that is a privacy issue. And I know Susan sent an email asking for that to be redacted, and I would be in support of redacting. I think it's page 16 of this packet.
Page 16 of which pile, Cora, are you
Um,
referring to?
It's the email asking for renewal of the ADA accommodation for the next fiscal year.
Didn't Susan ask for that? Like, this is a renewal. Did she
For-
ask for that about
For
a year
public
ago?
comment, yeah, for this fiscal year. And the piece about for the hearing was separate, and I just felt that I was surprised to read this email, to see it in here. I think it contained more information than needs to be in public record for us to renew a request that we're already honoring. So
Anybody have a problem with pulling it out of the board packet, redacting it?
that's
Do we need a vote?
No.
Sorry, I didn't hear the whole,
We're
what are
gonna
we redacting?
redact the email where Susan Kavari is asking for her ADA consideration again.
Why would we pull that out of the board packet?
Just that it bothers Susan that we put it in there, and I know it's
I,
sometimes we're asked to put all emails in there, and I don't know how it happened with the board, the chair last year. I remember Susan asking for it in public. But we're happy to take the email redacted out of the,
I'm not.
okay, all those in favor? Aye.
Nay,
Was there a motion? Did I miss the motion?
You missed the motion.
So I presume a motion
I think
To-
I mean,
pull the email out of.
yeah, I would move to remove page 16, the email in public correspondence that is a request to renew an ADA accommodation for fiscal year 26, 27.
because now she only wants in the record what she puts in the record. And this is in the record. It's something she's asking the board for. Now she's asking public information to be excluded from the board, from the packets. This is,
If the board is requiring someone to share their medical information in order to honor an ADA request, I just feel that we have a duty to only disclose what's necessary for us to make that decision. And
okay, but what does the public say if all of a sudden we give her twice as
There's a
much?
motion on the floor. We need a second and then you
Okay.
debate.
Cora made a motion to redact it. Correct?
Yep.
yes,
We need a second. I'll second it because I don't think it's a big deal. Susan has been very out in the public with her ADA requests, so
So if she's been out in the public, why are we redacting it?
to make her happy.
because it's inappropriate.
Fair.
Because
I
it's
really don't
inappropriate and
care.
could create a liability for our district to purposely put out her private medical information is what I would say.
I will honestly say I have not read the email, so I don't know what private.
It's separate from the request for the hearing that we all received multiple times. It's just a renewal. I don't think it's necessary for it to be in there.
Okay, let's take a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
We will take that one email out.
Madam Vice Chair, unless there are 3 votes one way or the other, the vote does not count. So you can wait for another board member to get to the meeting, or you can put it on the next agenda.
Well, we'll table it then and see if Janelle makes it in. She said she was swamped at the hospital today, but we'll see. If she makes it in, then we can readdress it. Okay, let's move on to item 9, visitors section, public comment. So this is your chance to give the board comments on anything and everything. Susan Barker. Susan, are you here?
Thank you. Okay, for the record, my name is Susan Barker. I'm a homeowner. I'm a taxpayer, Madras, Oregon, Jefferson County. And I brought this up before, but evidently we were really busy. I never received any emails on it. So I'm bringing it up again. And it's involving the grant writer. And we'd like to know the date of hire, the individual's name, contract that was signed by the person, as well as the ED, the board members, details of the contract. In other words, how is this person paid? And is the individual paid after a grant is received? If so, that's misrepresenting the purpose of the grant. Where did the funds come from? And what is the payment that has been agreed upon for the grant writing? List of grants that have been written to foundations, organizations, or whomever else, and the amount requested and the reason for the particular grant. This would be an excellent time to show the taxpayers transparency regarding how you're spending the money. They already are concerned that the ED is not doing the grants herself regarding the wages that is paid, which the board has approved, and the fact that you had to get a loan, which the taxpayers now have to pay 6% because you cannot seem to stay in the budget. And so these are, I changed it and reduced it a little bit because evidently it was too much. But I kind of expected, this was a couple of meetings ago, and I kind of expected an email because that's what I understand how we respond. And I haven't received anything yet. So, and then I just have one thing about that $10,000. You say you don't have to. It's just included in a lot of small entries. And And actually, it needs to be a line item, and if it's not somebody that wants their name, it still has to be a line item that it's a private individual or something. And if you're not going to do that, then you need to include a narrative if you're not going to do a line item on any.
It is on a line item.
Okay, and I guess I didn't see that, and that's why I'm asking.
Let me give you the
that.
number.
So,
We can answer that one real quick.
okay,
Under the general fund financials, 1-50000. That's where you'll see the
okay.
grants and donations.
All right. So anyway, if I could, I'm kind of speaking for all of us here that have these questions, that it should be public knowledge, and this is money that's being spent that we don't seem to have. So we'd like to know where it came from and who is getting it and what's going on with it, and to see some sort of recoup from this and what's going on. So thank you for your time again.
Well, just briefly, Susan, our grant writer is set to give us an update. Is that the July meeting?
Yes, it says
Okay.
July work session.
Please share with us again her name. I've heard it. I don't remember it.
Kim Curley
Kim?
of Curley Consulting,
And how do you spell Curley?
Curley.
Kim Curley. And can you say approximately, she's been on board, is it 2-3 months now?
Believe it's been 2 months. We have a not to exceed $5,000 professional services agreement through June of 2027.
5,000 total. And that's not based on how many grants are successful, but she will be giving us an update at the July meeting of the
Okay.
grants that are in the works.
That's correct.
Yeah. And I think the other question I noted was, is there some sort of a professional agreement that you could forward, Susan, that we have with?
Yes,
Yeah.
we have a professional services agreement. I can certainly.
And do I have her email? Yes, ANDYMOM98.
Yes. it's
Okay.
email. Will we be able to have questions at that point with her from the public?
She's gonna give
Limited?
us a presentation.
Can
And
we
possibly in
respond?
public comment, then you might have some questions. I don't know how we would address that.
Well, I don't know, but we might have a question or two regarding things that she says that we wouldn't know that she's going to say.
Yeah, yeah.
But we might, after she says them, just have, I'm not saying long, 12-hour
You might have-
dissertation. I'm just saying some brief questions.
She
that
might have
maybe she could
something after
answer.
the presentation.
Yeah, maybe we'll ask her if she'll have time for a Q&A after her presentation.
Just a few.
Yeah.
You can limit it.
Sure.
Sure.
We don't need 20, but I'm sure there'd be at least 3 or 4 possible questions.
Courtney-
Just asking.
Just briefly update on some of the grants that she's got in the works.
So the focus for our grant writer is threefold. We have 3 priorities. We're focusing on equipment for our senior programming, in particular, getting new chairs, because we have over 20 folks participating in our
Sure.
chair aerobics, and those chairs are falling apart, as some in the audience could attest to. And looking at getting some new equipment for them, like stretch bands and some other things. So we've applied for, I believe, 2 grants to date for about $5,000 to try and get some of that equipment. We're also looking at energy efficiencies. So there's a few grants that have been identified that we're applying for the heat exchanger replacement and doing some other efficiencies in our systems. And then the third piece we're focusing on is our accessibility improvement project with the locker rooms and the hallways, trying to get accessible buttons on some doors into the natatorium, because right now there aren't any. And then also trying to improve accessibility into the locker rooms. For example, none of the doors are wide enough for one of our water wheelchairs, and some other things. So those are the 3 areas we're focused on.
Okay, and if you wouldn't
Thank you.
mind, when you respond to me, what you're going to respond to me, if you could just briefly put that in for me for my
Sure.
own record, I'd appreciate it. And then I can pass it on as needed to anybody that else that might have those questions.
All right. Thank you, Susan.
Well, thank you.
Courtney, I'll pass you that down. I took a few notes there, but you probably took notes as well.
Yep. Thank you.
Jerry Colon Did you, Jerry Colon, did you have something you wanted to say? Click on it. Thank you.
This is my second part. So it's
Just
kind
for
of a
the
bizarre-
record, just state your name again.
Okay, Jerry Colon. And so I've been going to the pool basically weekly since it opened up in 2007. And so this is kind of a bizarre thing I'm going to bring up, but you have to know that it's very important. So there have been executive managers and management of the pool that have allowed fecal matter to just be in the pool and not be removed and not be sanitized. And now under Courtney, they have a protocol where it is physically removed, and everybody has to get out of the pool, either the leisure pool or the lap pool, no matter where it's at. And then there's sanitization that goes on, and time where so much time that people can't be in the pool. And so I want you to all know that, everybody know that I really appreciate that policy back now, and because I have been in the pool in the past where it has been seen, I have seen it, and then shoulders have just gotten shrugged and it just left. And so I'm very happy and very proud of our facility that it takes that seriously.
And unfortunately, I've heard we had a couple episodes in the last month or so. Yeah.
Even so, yeah, and it's
Yeah.
just that, I have to say, and I've been going to the pool for the 20 years, and there's been other managers and where they have not cleaned it up. So there's all these little things that have to take care of, and so I'm glad it's being
Thank
all
you,
that's
Jerry.
being done.
Trudy Haugen.
Trudy Haugen for the record. I just wanted to, I'm sure that you all remember my public comment from your media person, your media volunteer. I thought that the issue had been taken care of. I followed up on January 27th with an email to the board chair and Courtney. I never got any response back, but I noticed that I wasn't seeing any more postings. February 20th, your media person was again posting videos under his own name with patrons. I once again followed up with an email to both the board chair and Courtney, and I never heard anything back. But then there was no more posting. And so I figured, well, they must have just taken care of it, even though they chose to not communicate with me. June 20th, I sent another one off because once again, your volunteer is posting video obtained with permission as a volunteer to take video of our second grade Warm Springs children, which is totally fine. But as a community member, I do not appreciate that video not being posted only for the MACRD and only for the school district, but just someone that was just allowed. In my second email, I requested that it be part of the evaluation for the executive director because I have shared, I read what this person says to me. I also put in the email, all of the emails that are sent to me from people in this community of how they've been talked to. And that the February 20th, I requested if I needed to make a formal written complaint. I never was given anything. And so I guess this is it's time for a formal written complaint because I need to know why a community member can post picture or footage obtained under their own umbrella and not, I don't think parents should have to see somebody that is not the MAC or the school district posting a video of our school children, especially when they talk the way they do. And you heard my public testimony of how he spoke to me. It's not appropriate. And anyway, also, I would like to say that I am appalled and have been appalled for this whole year of how you're handling your person with an ADA. It is to be handled with professionalism. There should be communication between all of you, that there is no acknowledgement of why the person has 6 minutes. But yeah, the word disability needs to be removed. And for liability reasons and legal reasons, we need to be more cautious.
Thank you, Trudy. Mark Foster. I think you might be.
Who's got it?
You're the last paper I have up here.
We have a couple
Somebody
on,
on Zoom?
we have a couple on Zoom.
We may follow up after you're done with some on Zoom, but
Let's see it.
That's just a sign.
it's the luck of the draw, Mark.
Well, I'm Mark Foster, and I live at 1245 Southeast Kemper Way. And I'm here to tell the board and Courtney that we support you 100%. And I would like to know the people that don't support you, what they've done to support the Aquatic Center. I have 200 employees in Madras. A lot of them live in Redmond or Prineville or Bend, and they commute to Madras. Madras has a nice aquatic center. The county, for some reason, can't figure out how to support it. I've supported it. I pay taxes. I'm one of the largest taxpayers in the county. And here several years ago, the Courtney had a problem with the filter. I think it was the filter.
Sand filter system.
And it was going to cost $30,000 to fix it. I called Dallas Stovall, and I talked to the Bean Foundation, and all three of us contributed $10,000 each to support the filter there at the swimming pool. I sent my engineers down there to see if there's a way to try to fix it. Came back that the health department said their plan, which would have worked, wasn't feasible, that it would not meet the health standards. But anyway, and so then sometime after that, Courtney called me, and she said that the insurance would cover the $30,000 and wanted to know if we wanted the money back. And the Bean Foundation and Dallas Stovall and I all said, keep it. And I think it's unfortunate that the Jefferson County can't support things like the library and the aquatic center. Those are things that bring people that want to live in Madras. And I've got 30% of my workforce that does not want to live in Madras. They'd rather commute, which is unfortunate. And so my question is, if you can't support the aquatic center, why? What have you done to support it? What are you doing to support it? And I think that's a question that needs to be asked of all the people that find all kinds of problems with what you're doing. You got a thankless job, and you get criticized on everything. That's very difficult to manage something when you have no funding. It's really hard. And when you have to do, there's certain regulations that you have to follow with Red Cross and the number of people in the pool, et cetera. It's difficult. And so anyway, that's all I have to say is it's easy to complain. What are you doing to help solve the problem? There's a problem. What are you doing to solve it?
Thank you, Mark.
Yep.
Thank you.
William. Okay, William, I'm going to try. It's Robotham?
Robotham.
Robotham.
Bill Robotham. I live in the district. The volunteer thing came up just right now, and that was something that's important to me. I have a great deal of pride and identity with the MAC, and personally, I just use it a lot. It's very helpful for me. I love the water. It's very good for me personally, but even more important to me is that the sense of civic pride that it gives us, an identity. So I think we're all on the same page in that regard. We want to see it succeed. But regarding the volunteer stuff, it's very uplifting to me. And it gives me a sense of pride when I see Commissioner Eugene or Commissioner Frank, they're outside of office hours, working, volunteering time. That's the sort of thing that just makes me really feel good. And so I think as far as the volunteering thing goes, we should encourage it. It's not like these folks are somehow a nuisance that should be delegated stuff outside the pool. It's a good way also to a precursor to hiring somebody. If they really want, it's a good job for a teenager. So if they want to volunteer before they get a job, that'd be a good thing to do. I think it's just very, very good for morale. And it gives us a sense of civic pride when we're donating that time, our own time. And it answers the question that was just asked. And just to counter that, regarding the county, it's the people that live in the county that are paying for it. It's not the county. It's not some abstract thing. There's a lot of resentment from people that don't use the pool, that they've got $200 for this, $500 for this on their tax forms that come every year, and they're resented. They don't use the pool. And tangential to that, I know there's been talk in the past about Warm Springs contributing more as far as morale goes, and to sort of address that sort of resentment, because there is resentment. People do bring this up. Hey, Warm Springs doesn't contribute anything. So it seems to me for the integrity of the for the integrity of the relationship with an independent sovereign entity, that something even nominal should be obtained, like maybe a group discount or something like that. Just something where there's reciprocity. That's healthy. That gives everybody respect, and it responds or answers that resentment that people have about paying for something that they don't use, or paying for something that other people use but don't pay for. One thing on we're talking about saving energy. I'm not quite sure if this has been discussed or not. I would think it would have been, but we got on both the hot tub and the pools, I think 21 hours a week, the pools are being used. It's 168-hour week. That's 12.5% of the time of the hours of the week that the pools are being used. And a hot tub cover, it would save at least conservatively $900 a year, maybe even $1,800 a year. So I'm not quite sure why we don't have one on.
So that's your time, William. Thank you. So a hot tub cover, that's kind of a possible idea. I don't know if the board is not one that we've discussed, but maybe that's another grant potential. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anybody on Zoom?
Yes, accountability counts. I'm going to ask you to unmute. If anyone else is interested in speaking, please raise your hand.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
This is Julie Lundy for the record. I just wanted to point this out. When the budget was passed without a quorum, I've never been on a board. I understand that's not the way it was supposed to be handled. The minute somebody was told on the board or the ED that you guys made a mistake, it's not an error, it can be fixed. It's a mistake. The minute the mistake was brought to the attention of the board or the ED, I Googled it. If a budget is passed with special districts without a quorum, how is that rectified? Instead of Googling it for free and finding out if a special district passes a budget without a quorum, the action is considered legally null and void. To rectify this, the district board must notice and hold a properly constituted meeting to officially reconsider and revote on the budget with a quorum present. And then it goes on to tell you how to go about those things, either setting a special meeting or doing it at your next board meeting. I am appalled that nobody talked to anybody on any other board in the state to tell you how to fix that without going to your attorney and costing taxpayers 50 grand. That was asinine, just saying. Then I'd like to also thank Keith Manufacturing, Brightwood, and Bean Foundation, because without them, you people would be up a creek without a paddle, worse. I do have to tell Mark that I'm sorry 30% of his employees don't live here. That has nothing to do with the pool. That has a lot to do with the school district, because nobody that travels that far, teachers included, they live in Bend and Redmond because they don't want to live here. It has nothing to do with the pool. So thank you.
Thank you, Julie. Anybody else on Zoom?
Susan Kavari's requested to speak via email earlier.
Susan?
Sorry, I'm working on unmuting. My mouse is disappeared.
Trying to get you unmuted, Susan, if you can hear me.
Okay, yes, I can hear you.
Now you're coming in clear.
Let me know when you guys are ready.
We are ready.
Okay, this is Susan Kavari. Earlier, I was muted when Jean spoke at the close of the hearing, and I did not have a chance to refute that she did have involvement when she said that she did not. There was an email on May 20th from Courtney, who responded to the appeals and set the terms for the appeals. She actually set the 10-minute terms, and she was not willing to give me extra time. And I do have an ADA Title II disability that is documented, but that is obviously not considered. I also would like to mention that Irvi sent an email on May 27th that was with you, Jean, that both of you mentioned meeting with Courtney over the supplemental complaint that I had, which meant that Courtney reviewed it with you. So again, I think you need to go back to the comments that you made, because I disagree. Further, you indicating that my handicap, because I can write, first of all, I have a lot of help writing, and that's called ChatGPT, and everybody uses it. I'm not afraid to say that because I do have a handicap. You have no idea how long it takes me to even write. You have no idea that I can't even read a page of a book and remember what I read 30 minutes ago. You have no clue about my disability. I will tell you this: writing and speaking are not interchangeable. Okay? So that's that. So let me further this. Chair and board members, I would like to address comments made publicly by Chair Irvi Dominguez suggesting that the 10 taxpayer budget case and other concerns involving the MAC stem from a personal vendetta against Executive Director Courtney Sneed. Now, I also have to tell you that I have another condition that I get emotional and I can't help it. And this, you guys are adding to my stress level, and this is going to be on the record. So thank you very much. Respectfully, those statements are unsupported and do not reflect the record. The May 28th case was not dismissed because the court found that MAC had complied with Oregon local budget law. Rather, the court dismissed the third amended complaint on procedural grounds without prejudice. The court also denied the MAC's request for attorney's fees and costs. From the beginning, the taxpayers' objective was simple: to have the MAC correct the fiscal year 25-26 budget process in a transparent and lawful manner. The taxpayers sought no money for themselves and repeatedly asked the district to voluntarily address the issue rather than spend public funds defending litigation. The concerns raised by taxpayers have involved lawful budgeting, public accountability, transparency, board oversight, and maintaining public trust. Public participation should not be dismissed as a personal attack. Citizens have both the right and the responsibility to raise concerns when they believe a public body has failed to follow the law. If numerous concerns involve actions taken by the executive director, the The board's responsibility is not to blame patrons, taxpayers, or community members for speaking up. Rather, the board should objectively ask whether those concerns reveal problems in governance, oversight, transparency, or accountability. Many of the individuals who have raised these concerns are longtime MAC supporters, patrons, volunteers, taxpayers who want the district to succeed. Disagreement with district leadership does not constitute a vendetta. It constitutes civic participation. A procedural dismissal does not erase the underlying concerns, nor does it relieve the board of its responsibility to maintain public trust. As taxpayers stated on May 30th, this was never personal. It was about lawful budgeting, public accountability, and the right of taxpayers to expect their public district to follow Oregon law. I hope the board will focus less on assigning motives to citizens and more on addressing the concerns being raised by the citizens you serve. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Is there anybody else in the room that didn't have a chance to sign up that would like to make public comment? No?
Yep. Yes, come on up.
I'm Michelle Foster, and my husband Mark Foster spoke earlier. And I just want to, I highly commend Courtney and her staff and also the board. You are doing a phenomenal job. When I had my knee replacement, it was so nice to have a pool, a lovely pool to come to that you could walk against like the river. And that helped so much with my therapy, my physical therapy. And when you come in and you're greeted by friendly smiles at the front desk, the staff is amazing. And with all the negativity in this world going on, it is so nice to come into a place where you get a friendly greeting. And I just appreciate Courtney, her staff, and having a lovely pool like this in Madras with so many things that are closing. This is a real treat. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, no more on Zoom. All right, let's move on to item 10, financial reports. How do the May financials look?
I am finding. So board members, the financial reports are in your packet. You can see that as it relates to the balance sheet, our equity is up $22,000 over the prior fiscal year. When you look at our month-end financials, we have some areas that have not met budget, and we have some areas that are exceeding budget. Our room and facility rentals were down. We had reported earlier that in an earlier board meeting, that we felt that that was partially due to not realizing as many end of school year rentals. And also because the swim team, the high school swim team didn't have as many meets as they had originally thought they would when the budget was being put together. You can see that daily admissions is not meeting our expectations for budget. However, group swim lessons, our contracted American Red Cross lifeguard certification classes, contracted swim lessons, and toddler programs are all exceeding our original budget estimates. When you look at our total income through the end of May, we're about $19,500 over what we had originally budgeted. As you go down through the categories, we are over what we had budgeted through May for personnel. Part of that is we did that free open swim that we received the funding, the revenues for, and did not update the expenditures commensurate with that until this most recent budget adjustment that the board made. And then we also had expenditures related to the water safety day for all sixth graders, but we also had the revenues that came in as well. So whenever we think about budgeting, it's about, even though we have revenues, we have to make sure we have that expenditure budget authority as well.
And back to that, the revenues were donations, were they not? That
Yes,
covered the expenses for putting on that safety day for the sixth graders.
That's correct. We got donations from Brightwood and Madras Marine and Identity Zone. and quite a few others in kind and coming and helping with the day as well.
And it covered 100% of the cost.
Yes, that's correct. Our legal services expenses are about $21,000 over budget through the end of May. The board did make that budget adjustment in June, so that gives us the budget authority pretty close to that for legal services through June. Overall, we were over budget by $19 on materials and services. And when you look at our net income, we're less negative than we anticipated in the budget. When you look at our prior year comparison, you can see that our total income is down about 9.7%, but our expenditures are down 12.2%. And we've talked about how that temporary closure in the summer did impact revenues, but it also saved quite a bit of money on the expenditure side. Let's see. And you can see our net ordinary income is up year over year by $25,000. When we look at our cash flow analysis through the end of this fiscal year, we are showing that if revenues and expenses come in as anticipated in June, that we will end the fiscal year negative $5,000. We're hoping that with our summer programs, our summer schedule starting next week, that we'll see an increase in participation in open swims and activities that will help offset that potential negative. And that, I believe, that's the financial report. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
The high school swim meets, how many do we have scheduled this year?
We have not gotten that information yet. We have the dates for when the season will be, but we don't know how many
They haven't
meets yet.
scheduled any swim meets. How about MST? Have they scheduled any swim meets?
We have one swim meet with them in July for their summer season, and we haven't discussed winter season yet.
All right, item 11, consider approval of the consent agenda, which includes the financials, the board meeting minutes. Corey, you had a chance to review those?
I reviewed one set, the other set, I just reviewed in the board packet, and I think I found some places where the committee members' names weren't put in, and the time instead was noted, which I would have been happy to go back and fix, but I didn't.
Was that on the budget committee meeting you're referring to?
On the meeting number 2.
Number 2, the special board meeting minutes.
Yeah, and then did Janelle review the minutes after I sent the
For the May 18th minutes?
Yes.
Yes.
So I was wondering on page 10, paragraph 3, there was previously a notation that the meeting had to be called to order when tensions escalated, and that part was removed. And I wondered what the reasoning was behind removing that.
People in the audience can't call a meeting to order. That's the role of the board chair. And so it's in the video. You can hear it in the video. I can't speak for Janelle.
Was that when somebody was saying point of order that?
Yeah,
And that's when I said to Irby, get control of your meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was included in the record, and then it was removed. And I just think that was a notable point of the meeting, and I don't understand why we would take steps to remove it.
Well, it wasn't during public comment, Cora, so I would say it's not appropriate to put it in our minutes, because I didn't say that to Irby based on what I heard from the audience. I think if you remember, I held my hand up to the chatter that was coming from the audience, and I said to Irby, get control of your meeting. Is how that all happened.
It hasn't been removed from the recording that's
Yeah.
available.
I don't think it needs to be in the minutes.
Okay.
So the minutes that you haven't finalized would be the June 1st, the budget committee meeting.
Yeah.
And that was due to staff, just that we didn't get it done until basically the moment before I posted the board packet on Friday. And so we didn't have a chance to send it.
So can I entertain a motion for A and B under 11?
I move we approve items A and B in the consent agenda.
Is there a second? No?
No, not for me.
So then how about item A? Is there a motion that we can approve item A, acknowledge receipt of the May 2026 financial report?
I move we approve item A in the consent agenda.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 So we are going to table the minute revisions for B and C to the following meeting. Is that correct?
Postponed to the next meeting.
Yeah. So I have a note here that Janelle Lewis is potentially on her way. Could we possibly move to item 13 and accomplish that one? Consider adopting resolution 2026-09, adopting the 2026-27 budget.
I move we adopt the 2026-27 budget.
With resolution 2026-09.
Hmm?
You want to reference the adopting resolution. So if you look on number
Budget
13,
making appropriations, imposing the tax and categories in the tax.
resolution 2026-09.
2026-09.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Oh, aye.
I'm like,
sorry. Sorry. Aye.
All right, well, here's something we haven't discussed. I'm going to skip past 14 too, waiting for Janelle to show up. 15, consider authorizing the executive director to approve expenditures not to exceed $55,000 with Southland to replace 3 heat exchangers when funds are available. Now that's all contingent on the grant writers.
that's correct.
Yeah.
So
We already approved that via the budget.
But it was approved when funds were available.
Yeah, when funds are available.
and so staff has sought estimates for the cost, proposals for the cost, and we received 2. And because my expenditure authority is 25,000, the board has to approve and authorize me to sign off on anything over that amount. So we received 2 estimates, and the one that staff and Frank took a look at it as well are recommending is to move forward with Southland. The total cost of the estimate is, can't remember off the top of my head, $45,736. Staff is requesting authority to spend not to exceed 55,000. So there's a contingency built in case they find that pipes or other things associated with the project have to be replaced. This project is to replace the 3 heat exchangers that heat the water in our 3 bodies of water, which are original to the building. And this is a great project for efficiency because right now they're operating in a very inefficient way, according to the OSU engineering students that came and worked with us back in 2025.
Less than 15%, isn't it?
Yes.
And potentially, if that grant comes through, we're not doing this till September.
Well, the lead time for this project is actually up to 30 weeks. So even if we got a grant today, this project wouldn't be completed until December because of the lead time in ordering the equipment. And that's why we're requesting approval from the board now, so that as soon as we identify grant funds and have them awarded, we can move forward with ordering the equipment.
Okay.
And with this project, it should be able to be completed from a Sunday to Tuesday when we're closed, by doing one at a time. We've been told this before and then been
I'm-
impacted.
You read my mind, didn't you?
As well, so of course we'll work with the contractor to try and have the least impact as possible to our schedule.
Southland is a national company and has huge resources. So they can put pressure on vendors, they can throw extra guys at it. Very confident going with Southland is our best deal.
Hope our grant writer comes through.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, so I'd be looking for a motion on that then.
I mean, we can authorize the executive director to approve expenditures not to exceed $55,000 with Southland to replace 3 heat exchangers when funds are available.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item 16, review and consider approval of the 2026-27 meeting schedule. How many changes were we making from the fourth Monday of every month? Well, Frank, how'd you find that so quick?
There are 4 meetings that are out of
Out of
sync.
sync? And those are?
Those are March 29th, because the meeting would have fallen during spring break. And historically, the board has moved the meeting out of spring break week. So this is the week after. Thursday, May 6th, which would be the budget committee orientation meeting. The first budget committee meeting, which is being proposed for Thursday, May 13th. And then the second for Thursday, May 20th, if it's needed.
I don't see those dates on this document.
It's farther back.
Oh,
your
in the
packet.
board pack, if you look up at the,
Okay. Buried down further.
Yeah, it's halfway.
So did you guys have any discussion on these meeting dates?
No.
No, they all look good to you?
My only question would just be, if is the time a challenge for some of our board members that aren't here, or I don't know, when you're in community, like if we did it later, would that be more helpful? Or
I think this time of year is challenging and has been challenging no matter what time we hold it. At least for Irby with baseball, which is where he is tonight. I mean, you could just postpone this to the next board meeting and just recognize that the first meeting will be on the 27th of July and then have a conversation about it then when everybody's here.
Well, I don't think Cora's, she's
I was
just concerned, I think, with the timing, like, would it be better to have meetings at 6:30, but
well, and I mean, I don't have a problem with the time. I just recognize that sometimes we have absences of our board members. If maybe there's a different day or time,
Right.
you know, that would work better with everyone else's schedules. I don't know if you've had those discussions yet.
We were supposed to have it tonight, right now, but that's why I think it might be good to postpone it to until the next meeting.
I will say historically with Janelle, that Mondays fell as the best day for board meetings. We bounce between Mondays and Wednesdays, but with her schedule, doctors didn't come in, she's having to cover shifts, but that happens. Irby, I don't know. Yeah.
Okay.
But as for the dates,
I think,
this draft
I mean,
looks good.
Yeah,
fine
I
with me.
think they're fine.
Tell me when to show up.
All right,
I'm still here.
and we can always revise this if
Yeah.
the board decides 6:30 is better, we can
Yeah.
make those changes.
Mhm.
Okay, let's look for a motion to consider approval of the meeting schedule.
I move to consider approval of I move to approve the meeting schedule for fiscal year 2026-27.
As presented.
As printed.
Presented, yeah.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor? Aye. Do I hear an aye or did I miss it?
Aye. Hi, my brain is.
Aye. Okay.
Sorry, we're skipping around, and I'm like, what? Where are we going next?
No. So Courtney, how about you give us your executive director report? Have you heard from Irby? Is he going to make it in at all?
Irby is not going to make it in.
Okay.
And I just sent Janella ETA text. So for the executive director's report, one of the things we try and do as a team and just in general is focus on the positives. So we wanted to share that even though it's not a positive report, the outcome is good, that one of our swim lesson families, their kiddo's bike fell into the lake and the child was able to use their swim lesson skills and float until the adult got to them. And they let our head swim instructor know that they were really appreciative of the skills that kiddo had picked up, about a 4 or 5-year-old. So for us, that affirms the work that we do. To give you some summer staffing updates, we're always excited for summer because our seasonals are usually more available, which means that we can work at our desks and get some planning done for the upcoming school year and kind of get ahead of some things. That has not been the case so far. Since school got out, we've had several call outs. I've got a few staff that are suspended. When staff no call, no show 3 times, they're suspended for 30 days. We like to nip it in the bud because it can become a problem if people see that accountability is not happening. So our first priority is always patron safety. And to that end, our core 5 staff have been lifeguarding and deck supervising and pool operating more than we expected to in these first couple weeks of staff, seasonal staff, in theory, having more availability. We did have our mandatory summer in service. It's been exceptionally beneficial to the team. The first afternoon, we went through our scheduling system, timekeeping, how they should be calling out. We talked through our employee manual highlighting cell phone usage, which is always a challenge. Uniform expectations, call out procedures, professionalism, and patron services. We went through our bloodborne pathogen plan, our heat illness prevention policy, inclement weather policy, and staffing plans and emergency operations plans, which are all required through the state that we do annually. Then we took a break because everybody was tired of listening to me talk. And then we reviewed CPR first aid protocols, and we went through the difference between infant and adult CPR, land and water rescues, life-threatening bleeding protocols, and then infant and adult choking responses. Lastly, we did a facility walkthrough and we pointed out important rules that we've been noticing maybe we haven't been following as well as we could or implementing as well as we could. And then our core 5 team had the luxury of destroying our locker room so that our staff could go in and do a proper locker room check. So that was really fun. Everybody enjoyed that. When I say destroying, I just mean paper all over the place and kind of made a mess.
Paper, like toilet paper?
Toilet paper, the seat, a seat cover, leaving sinks running, those types of things to make sure that they're not just sticking their head in to make sure nobody's on the floor and then popping out. It's really important that they're cleaning as they go through. So on day 2, the focus shifted to aquatics and practicing our emergency action plan. We did a tabletop walkthrough with Chief Lapine, which was awesome. We talked through what it would look like to have someone on deck who's having CPR and then be handed off to EMS. What to expect from that. We talked through, what their protocols are in terms of declaring someone, dead on the scene, or do they take them to the hospital, and then what to expect in those situations. And I think it was really helpful to have him there. I think sometimes we focus a lot on, and now you're done because EMS is here, and to have him kind of walk through what their process is was really helpful. Then we went right into practicing water entries, front and back facing, submerged and active water rescues, spinals, all the things that we hope we never have to respond to, but we need to be prepared to. And then we talked through how to do extractions from the spa, the pool, the different pools, the slide. And then we had 5 staff recertify on Saturday, which includes doing a multi-rescuer scenario in the pool, with CPR, and then also doing the multiple choice test that's required through American Red Cross.
So Those 5, is that our part-timers or is that?
Those are we had one
Seasonal, I should say.
one full-timer and then the rest were seasonals. We have a contracted lifeguard class for Big Lake coming up this week, and they only had 4 lifeguards to certify, so they are letting us take up the other spots. And so we've got a couple of new lifeguards that we're going to certify, and one recertification that couldn't make it this last week. Our current lifeguard team is trying to get all their friends and colleagues and people they know to apply so that we can fill the remaining spots. And we've had a couple applications come in since then. The fiscal year 25-26 audit. So we have been working through the interim audit, and it's been challenging because of having so many staff call outs. I missed a couple of meetings with them because I was on deck. We had on one day 3 vomits and 2 bloody noses, and I was the CPO, and so that means I'm responding to that emergency in that moment. The good news is the actual audit, the on-site audit, happens in September, so I shouldn't be pulled away for operational reasons, which is why we schedule it then. And then the goal is for the final audit to be presented to the board in October, November. As we talked about earlier, the district's grant writer is going to present to the board in July, August, depending on what our calendar looks like, what our meeting looks like. I met her at the SDAO conference in Seaside, and she has a background in wellness and public health, which is a huge asset to what we're trying to do. And then kind of note what the professional services contract looks like. Facility and safety team updates. The safety committee met last week and identified various repairs. There's a few we're trying to not do anything until July 1, but there's a few mission critical things. Our spa jets they keep going in and out since that last power outage. The Pacific Power outages are kind of killing us right now. One fried the UV main panel. So we're looking at potentially doing an insurance claim on that one because we're not sure yet what that's going to cost to replace. So the lap pool UV is not operational at the moment. It's a backup system, so it's not critical. It's a secondary water cleaning system. Our spa filters are still working and cleaning. So the goal is to get that replaced as soon as possible. We're working on getting quotes for that. Yes.
So you mentioned our insurance. You might try Pacific Power's insurance as well on
It's a good call.
that outage.
Is there a some sort of like building wide surge protection that I know there's been a lot of conversation about this for households with all of the outages, and it doesn't sound like it's going to stop coming into the summer.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe Frank knows if
Well,
I don't know.
to do a building-wide surge protector would be hugely expensive.
Yes.
You generally protect critical equipment such as electronic equipment, such as your computers and stuff like that. But yeah, it gets expensive really fast. And most of them, I believe, are one-use things. So
Yeah.
and then let's go buy another one. So
when you have the outage, if we were there and we shut, like I run around and I shut everything off that I can remember that was on. But last summer, when we had a phase that went out, just affected our neighborhood. When they fired it back up, there was too much power came through. It fried my refrigerator.
Okay, so
and they covered it. Pacific Power covered it.
So we will certainly look at that. What I can tell you is when there's a planned outage, we do just that. We go through and we shut everything down that we can. When it's an unplanned outage, it means that Amanda or I are going to the pool. So this last time I went in, I don't know, at 4 o'clock to make sure that everything was running and that we were still ready to be open that morning. Right now we have backup batteries when the power goes out, that we have lights for 30 minutes after everything shuts down, but we don't have any backups for critical systems like the pumps and the motors and things. And we are looking at getting a quote for what it would cost and having it tiered so that, what would it cost to keep it running for 15 minutes or 30 minutes so that we can get someone there to turn stuff off, in a more gentle way. So we're looking at getting quotes for that.
So the problem is not when it goes off, it's when it
comes
back
back
on.
Yeah.
So if there's a power outage, and it will, so the power's down everywhere. Go shut the main breakers off and then shut all the little ones off, turn the main breaker back on, go back on one at a time. PGE will thank you too, because then they don't have that big surge of power coming into this outfit. So that's my semi-amateur opinion. I'm sure that PGE would be more than willing to come and explain that process better, so they don't have to pay a $15,000 board.
Yeah.
So,
And one of the things we are working on is updating our protocols for when we have a power outage, because we don't really have them. It's just we've been doing the best we can. So
yeah.
And do those, when you do go in the power, if the power were to be out, do you have to get down into the pump area, like down in that
no, all of our
dark, scary hole?
no,
I'm just
all of
thinking
our
about staff safety.
yeah, all of our all of the on and off switches are up on the top row. Now, if something's not working when we turn it back on, then yes, there's a possibility we have to go down in the pit. But we have safety protocols in place if someone is down there.
Yeah.
So that
Confined space.
it's not, it's an ish confined space.
Just imagine how dark it is in there.
Yeah.
When that happens.
So that would never be someone alone, responding to a power outage going in
Right.
there. Yeah.
I suppose we have flashlights around.
We have flashlights all over the place. We encourage
Emergency lights.
radio and phones so that you can use your phone flashlight if need be.
To call the Pacific Power.
Yeah,
This is the problem. I'm sure they're getting inundated with lots of calls.
but we will certainly follow up on that. Let's see what else. We're in the midst of final fixes, hopefully, to the domestic water heater. We're still getting this lockout high fan speed alarm quite frequently. And so the manufacturer's been looking at it. They've requested that the original contractor come in and put in new venting, which is slated to happen in July. And then if that doesn't fix this problem, then they've indicated they're going to replace it under the whole thing under warranty. So we're just
one more step.
We're still going through the steps, but it's in progress. Hopefully there's a light at the end of that tunnel. And then we have solicited quotes for conducting a facility condition assessment, which gives us condition ratings, life cycles, replacement estimates, and timelines for the building envelope, roofing, plumbing, fire protection, and exterior and interior elements of the building. I have attached to your executive director report an example of one that was done on an aquatics facility in McMinnville. It's $3,600. That's going to be taken out of that facility's consultants' fees in next fiscal year, so that we can get this assessment done, and it'll help the board have an understanding of, exactly what those costs potentially are moving into the future.
That we could roll into a potential maintenance bond. Yeah.
Exactly. And that is my report.
Well, unfortunately, that brings us back to the two items that we need the rest of the board here. I mean, Cora, we know what we've been doing with contract negotiations. We need the other.
Move them to the next meeting?
We're gonna have to call a special meeting or something.
Janelle said she was leaving the hospital at 7:08.
Well, but even Janelle not having Irby here for Cora and I to give our little presentation on where we're at with the executive director contract renewal.
Either way, move it to next meeting or have a special meeting. What's your availability?
Thoughts?
Not a Thursday night.
Yeah, no, we'd do whatever night we potentially could, because
I'm texting Garvey to see if he's available this week.
it's
That
gonna
would
have to
probably
be between now and next Tuesday, because I'm gonna be gone for 2 weeks.
Maybe would another lunchtime meeting
I'd be
possibly?
happy to do that. If we could get Janelle to be able to pull away. Yeah. And we'd have to have it up at the MAC.
Yeah.
Have it at Wildlands.
Hmm.
Have it at Wildlands.
No, we'd have to have it up at the MAC so that Courtney could jump over.
Oh,
Be hard to set the owl up in there, I think.
we don't want to.
Is it possible to reach Irvi by phone?
I'm
Or-
texting him to see. But he said he's in the middle of the tournament the last time
Oh,
he's generally available at 11:15.
Mhm. S- Um. And how much time would we need to notice it? Or would this,
Special meetings just require 24 hours notice, I believe, 48 hours. I'm gonna look at Ross. Who's on here?
Have any board member highlights? Besides dance last
been
week?
busy, just, yeah. We're done with dance.
Done with dance.
Yeah,
Happy dance?
it was great. It was, yeah, we do a happy dance. Yeah, it's summer, so that's good.
Yeah, 24 hours. Sorry for special meeting notice.
24 hours, yeah.
Wednesday,
Uh,
Wednesday, pending Irvy's availability.
Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Prefer not Thursday, but
We have a lifeguard class happening Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, then they use the room for that and all the equipment in there.
Oh, in that room, yeah. Who needs the library? Monday. Morning. Who needs the library? You'd be able to pull away from the building though to come down? No.
Probably, I mean, I'm guessing no.
So what does Monday look like?
Monday, June 29th.
Well, and is Irvi's at the All-Star tournament?
I thought they were done with that.
I think it continues through the week.
Oh, because they won the All-Star tournament in Prineville, the districts, and now they're into state. Is that what it is?
I don't think, I'm not sure, but I don't think that the Prineville tournament is over yet. So I wonder if that's a wild card anyway.
It's a conundrum.
Yeah.
I can make myself available anytime between now and Wednesday the 1st.
I can work on getting some scheduled. Wish me luck. It's generally very challenging.
Were we supposed to make a decision on this today or, I mean,
Which item, Cora? This will give you a chance maybe to finish those minutes and we could approve those. But the public complaint appeal decision
and
the
the,
1-year employment contract for the executive director, I think we really need those other 2 board members here.
Janelle just pulled in. She
Yeah.
texted me for what it's worth.
You did see the emails I forwarded to all the board members concerning the contract negotiation for the ED.
Mhm.
Yeah. Did you have a chance to read the emails that I sent you about the contract negotiations for Courtney's?
not the emails. I saw the numbers.
Sent you the email correspondences between us.
Did you send it to my board?
Yes.
It's also in your,
That's the problem.
it's in your packet.
You're not able to get into your.
I do, but with the house, it's on my computer out in the shop.
Yeah.
And so I have to I go out there maybe once a week. At all.
they are in the board packet too,
Find them
Or-
way back in there.
in the board's copy of the board packet.
I guess we could consider this a brief recess, waiting for Janelle to arrive.
Okay. So at 7:20 recess.
A 7:20 recess. I don't suppose there's any hope that Irby could arrive by 8 o'clock, or is he in town? Yeah.
We've been here later.
I know, I would be willing to recess till 8 o'clock if he could make it, say by 8 o'clock and get this over and done with.
Yeah.
I just messaged him to see if he could zoom in to this phone.
So Claire, did I misunderstand Susan when she was saying that I did not admit to meeting with? Or
There's. I don't actually maybe. But I encourage to use couples to give them as
He's not responding. You can't, we're still in recess.
It looks like
Tuesday at 11:30. All right, we're going to reconvene our meeting briefly
At
7:29 p.m. Janelle Lewis is now present. Irby Dominguez is still absent. So I wish to ask the board how they would like to move forward with item number 12. The board minute. Janelle, to bring you up to speed on 11, Cora hasn't had a chance to fully vet the minutes B and C. So we're going to postpone that to the special meeting, as well as item 12 and item 14.
I have 3 dots. Irby is responding. He says he could do Thursday.
He could do Thursday at what time?
I'm pretty questionable that day.
You're pretty questionable.
I have like an appointment in bed in the morning and a doctor's appointment in bed in the middle of the day. And plans at night. I could do like late afternoon.
Late afternoon? Would it be after 5 o'clock when Irby gets off work?
Maybe I could do 5.
5 o'clock?
Maybe.
Yeah. Oh, you're not at 5 o'clock Thursday? Is that when you go golf?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
5.
I could do like
So-
4. I mean, my appointment in Redmond's at like 12:40. I'll be home by like 1:30.
You could do early afternoon if Irby could take maybe he could take a lunch. No, Irby's, the only day he doesn't have a game is Thursday. So could he do a different lunch hour?
That's
and
what I'm-
schedule it Thursday, like at 2:00, Janelle?
Yeah.
Would that get you back from Redmond? Cora? 2:00 on Thursday?
Yeah, I can do that.
I'm not getting a response.
2:00 on Thursday? Well, that's the best probably we can do, and
Well, if
yeah,
Irby can't do it, then we could just do it now.
we're gonna have to do it without him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do we need a motion to do that, or do we just?
Well, why don't we then just do it inside?
I know.
Or pick a
And
different.
you could work through the agenda and see.
Or, Janelle,
So I said, if he can't do that time and we're gonna do it without it.
can I ask for quiet, please, in the room? Audience, quiet, please.
Your gavel.
What did you say?
I said, if he can't do Thursday either and we're gonna do it without him, then we could just do it tonight.
No, he can't do Thursday.
Well, if he writes back. Oh,
Yeah. And that's the problem. So we could discuss item 12. Janelle, you've probably read through all of the complaints. Item 12 was Susan Kavari gave her testimony about the 23 complaints, and she really didn't bring up any new points, just reiterated some of the answers to the questions that she had. So I'll open up for some discussion on item 12.
In the PowerPoint that the complainant provided, there was a page titled Requested Board Action on Appeal, and says the appeal is not just about disagreement with MACRD's answers, it is about whether MACRD followed policy 2022-04, created a traceable complaint processing record, and issued a written decision that addresses each allegation with reasons. And I know the board chair and vice chair have already addressed these. One place that I feel maybe we could add some more follow-up in a written response is the bullet point here that says what follow-up mechanism prevents reoccurrence where MACRD admits a problem. I mean, I don't know after a hearing like this, if we vote to provide some sort of documented response or
On which
just dismiss it.
of the 23 items, do you have a particular one?
Well, my understanding is that the appeal was only on these ones that are included in the PowerPoint.
Her appeal was our answers to all 23 complaints.
Like this says complaint 12, complaint 16, 17, 18, 20, 23. It's not for each one.
Well, I guess she didn't make that clear to me. I thought she was just reiterating the ones that she particularly didn't like the answers on.
My understanding was that these were the ones that were eligible for appeal per our policy.
I think every complaint is eligible for appeal per our policy.
Policy doesn't state any time limits requirements, does it?
Yeah, every appeal or every complaint, they can appeal it higher. If they didn't like what the chair and the vice chair answered, appeal it to the whole board. So the whole board at this time would have to decide if the rest of the board feels that there were some, maybe not all, was there some that could be investigated further and an outcome produced?
see any reason to study any further. Most of these, the complaints have already been answered by attorneys or other officials. Things that she wants us to do. There was an opportunity for her to be elected to the board, and she chose not to do that. And this cherry picking from the audience is not something that I'm comfortable with. I think the answers were very concise that you guys gave them, and
Or I'm sure you've got some thoughts. Were there specific complaints or anything that you thought warranted further investigation?
I think that in all of these concerns, the ones that were presented in the hearing today are all regarding executive director specifically. And I think that what Susan is pointing out is just a lack of oversight by the board in what's put in our meeting packets, how we're responding to records requests and daily concerns, and how we're handling our most important things, such as our budget. All of these things boil down to board oversight. And I was not on the board at the time that we received another formal complaint, but that complaint was addressed very differently than these. And I acknowledge that the complaint packet that we received from Susan was large and detailed, and I worry that we haven't at any step taken the time to sit down and try to see this from the perspective of community members who are frustrated with the way that the district is has been interacting with the public. And I would just say that this is maybe a point where we can turn a new leaf in how we address public concern.
So are you asking just to adopt this like form that for future state, like this form that she wants us to use for an example of complaint intake and routing?
Yeah, I mean, I understand the board's resistance to going back and, filling out a form for each one. And as she said, it's not paperwork for the sake of paperwork. But if we have a policy in place, I think it's a good big picture time for us to look at it and say, is this helpful? Is it helping us in working with our community when they have a concern? And are we using this policy to respond in a way that is productive or not? And so,
And I think we have to think about like functionality for the district with such a small staff and volunteer board and public district. Like if there's going to be like, if this is going to increase the number of like people just coming in and filling these out over and over, if we get 23 from the next person and it just keeps going and going and going, that's a lot of extra work to do, like all the paperwork and file everything and put it, like to do things differently than we're doing right now.
Yeah. So
that's something to consider for a small district. I'm curious if like that other district you were talking to over Malala or Washington, the one, like other places are doing something this intensive for every single complaint that comes in from like a patron or.
Yeah. What I'm referring to, I guess, is just for the board to have like a retrospective look at how how did we get to this place with all of these complaints that we have to hold this hearing and we're being asked to do, show how we have followed all of these different tracks within our own policy. And what I read it earlier, just for us as a board to identify what follow-up mechanism we are going to put in place to prevent reoccurrence in places where these complaints turned into complaints.
What are we preventing the recurrence of? All the complaints have already been taken to ethics committees, they've been run through our committee, and they're been judged no worth.
Have you reviewed these complaints, Frank? These are not the same complaints as
A lot of one complaint towards me about donating money.
yeah.
So what's the problem? It's
So-
not anything the board should be, it's no different than her getting a $10,000 donation or a $50,000 donation. But since I'm on the board, it's all of a sudden a concern. So honestly, some of these are just wasting our time. They're like throw a whole bunch at the wall and see what sticks. And most of the ones that would stick have already been adjudicated by either our ethics committee, by the state, or by the board director and vice chair.
So that concern about your donation, Frank, was not part of the complaints that she brought today to the appeal hearing. But I would say that our board bylaws do address that we should have held a board vote over a situation where a board member's business was having a financial transaction with the district.
There was no financial business. I could have donated it in my name. It wasn't a tax benefit, it wasn't anything. Anyway. Here's one other thing. We don't know what she's wanting to complain. She said in this 23 or 26 or whatever, and so that's what we're supposed to deal with. But you say no, only ones on the PowerPoint. So there's mix-up of information here. So how can we decide until we know what we're supposed to decide?
Well, I can clarify some of that for you. She has appealed the response from the chair and the vice chair, all 23 complaints. Now, tonight, she may have reiterated not all of them, but her appeal is appealing all the responses of the board. So I do believe it's the board's decision at this time to look through those 23 complaints and ask yourself, is there something that warrants a further investigation? Now, I know Susan compared her complaints to a complaint that we handled earlier this winter that was a patron that was in an aquatics class that was made to feel uncomfortable. There was something there that we could investigate. We looked at the video of what happened. We talked to staff about what happened. It was a new experience for staff. It was a learning experience for all. There was an outcome. These 23 complaints, I couldn't find anything where we could investigate further than what Irvi and I did to produce any kind of an outcome other than to say, what I think Cora is trying to say is that maybe we can learn from the experience. Going forward, I still feel some complaints rise to a higher level than others. A patron that complains about we're not open on Sunday. Nothing to investigate there except we lack the funds and the staff to be open all the hours to serve all the patrons. So our issue, I believe right now, is to address the response that the board and the chair gave on these 23 complaints. Is there something that warrants a further investigation?
I would say no. 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 I
Well, and Jean, I think that was a good summary, that it's more about how to process the complaints. We haven't had, this is an unprecedented amount of email and different forms of communication that have been coming at the board for over a year. Like I've never seen this in the 10 years I've been on the board, like ever. So, and I think most districts would say that.
Yeah.
So it is like very hard to track all of them when there's this many coming in at once and it's from all directions. Sometimes two of us will get an email from one person and no one else does. And then, you know, Courtney's not included, or sometimes it's just to Courtney and you never know how information is traveling through. So there's not a formal way like other than email, and it's really hard to track that way. And I think there is a different process for patrons that have an actual like a service issue or complaint of something that happened during like one of our programs or in the building compared to things like this in the 23 things that are more directed to the board, really.
Yeah, I don't disagree that it's an unprecedented amount of complaints and paperwork and information for us to dig deep and try to see someone else's perspective. I would just ask the board if our responses so far have been helpful in mitigating further concerns. And if that is the path that we want to continue, I don't know what the answer is to do with these other than to say, we recognize this issue and this is what we can do in the future to prevent it. You know, if it were to come up again. And
I guess like the problem I have is that also there's no end in sight. Like, I mean, they just keep coming. And so it's like, even our attorney has said like, you know, that like you can't like the same thing. Yeah, thank you. Like, and we're spending, like the board and Courtney, we're all spending a lot of time on this right now and at all of our meetings, and it's hindering our ability to do what she wants, which is to move forward and make everything, like make other parts of the district better. Like we could be spending this time on, you know, making a process for handling these. We could be using time to make our budget process next year better. There's all of these things planned for our summer. We have a whole list of all these things that we want to do to help the district get better that have been brought up. And we run out of time at every meeting. And that's what's like, I think, very frustrating, is to like cycle through the same list of things. Like, yes, I agree there, we can put a process in, we can do a work session. That's, I think, the best thing to take out of this. But at some point, everyone needs to move forward and help the district do some of these projects to get better and do these things instead of hashing out the same complaints from the last year, is what I feel like keeps happening. And it's just slowing us down even more than we already are.
well, I think we're having to hash out the same complaints from the last year because they have not been addressed before. And I would also say that at
Like
what
all
point,
23 haven't been
point
addressed?
are we as a board going to look at this packet and say, okay, this is a great process. Does our community want to help us? Like, would it, you know, we have smart people in our audience. We have people who care about the pool, who are plugged into our meetings, paying attention to what's going on. And as a board, we just want to dismiss and move on and dismiss and move on. And if there was a problem, we don't want to address it. We want to ridicule the people who bring the problems. And that's the people that are telling us why they have voted no on our funding measures and why they haven't been supporting the pool are not the problem. We could be thanking them for telling us so that we know how we can move forward in a way that will be beneficial to everyone.
So the problem is we dismissed everything that comes in. You know, and we'll listen to the patrons speak. And when I was interviewed for this position, one of the questions I was asked was, how would you deal with some of the problems that brought? And what I was told. I told them, I'd listen. I would do what we could, but sometimes the only answer that's possible is no. And whether that it doesn't fit our policy or we can't fund it. You know, the fact that we have lots of complaints about the hours. Okay, we understand we'd like more hours. We would like more hours.
Yeah.
But it's not possible with the funds that we have to have more hours. So I'm telling the public no. That means I'm dismissing them? No, that means I'm giving them the information that we have to work with. Does that seem like a reasonable answer to, you know, I read a complaint where a young mom wanted, she only had 2 hours a week when she felt safe being in the pool with her 6-month-old baby, and wanted us to add more hours so she could do that. That's not feasible. That's a no answer. It's not that I dismissed it. It's not feasible. It's not practical. We can't do it. And until the public understands that we want more hours, we want to be able to fund it, we want to be able to pay our people appropriately, that when they start understanding that no, it doesn't mean we dismissed it, it means we can't do it, then maybe we'll get some action from there. But just because you're told no is not dismissing something.
These complaints are about governance issues, not scheduling. And for example,
Are you talking about the narrowed down, the PowerPoint, the narrowed down
Yes.
complaints?
Yes, but even the complaint that had the email about the scheduling that he's referencing was about a governance issue and, you know, about picking what is going into the packet for a board decision and what's not. That's what that complaint was about. It wasn't about that email about this request for the schedule. It was about the board being presented that information that people were not requesting other times when they had just received that email. And
she asked for additional hours so she could take her 6-month-old child to the pool.
Yes.
It didn't have anything to do with going into the packet. She was upset that she couldn't take her child to the pool for more than 2 hours. And it's not possible to change the entire schedule around to accommodate one person. We have data of when things are attended best, and we try to serve the most patrons.
Okay, but back to the issue at hand.
Yes.
Which is this 23 complaints by Susan Kavari. Going back to our policy, what we're here tonight tasked with, we're at number 3, a response from the chair that the matter will be taken up by the board. Yes, that's happened. The board has taken up the 23 complaints. She disagreed with our answers, so we scheduled the work session. Item C. If the board concurs that action must be taken, they will take a formal vote during the next scheduled business meeting. So again, I'm going to ask the board, is there anything on these 23 complaints that we can actually take action for and investigate?
No.
I would say if the board is not willing to look at the complaints and understand the perspective of the management and governance issue that the complaints are bringing up, then no, there's nothing more that we can do. And I don't believe that this board is willing to do that.
Question that Jean asked in a different way. What number complaint would you like more investigation on? That's the way the policy is written.
Yeah. As an example, Frank, I'm looking for the complaint about the free swim, the open swim.
And that would be number 13.
Okay, so I am just using this as an example of what a board discussion and
That isn't the question. The question is.
I am just using this as an example of what I feel could be an appropriate response to a concern like this. So the complaint says, well, okay, I don't have the complaint in front of me. It's in this pile, but
Find it for you, Cora, because I've got the answer too.
yeah, I have the answer in front of me. Here, 13. Okay. Frank Maynard private business free swim sponsorship. The specific allegation, a board member's private business sponsored a free swim event arranged directly with the executive director with no disclosed correspondence, board discussion, public vote, or agenda item. And then she included evidence and date. So she had pieces of evidence from the minutes where the free swim event was mentioned. Requested action was who initiates. So she has question. The complaint is a question, right? The public is like, hey, this doesn't seem right. I have questions about this. Who initiated the free swim sponsorship? Whether board approval was required, whether communications between Frank Maynard, his business, and the executive director will be disclosed to the public, whether board member business sponsorships require agenda disclosure, whether MACRD will adopt a policy for privately sponsored events involving board members or their businesses.
So now let me go.
So
Wait, time out. So you've read the question. Now I will read the response. The board has discussed this in previous years. We welcome any individual or business to contact the executive director to arrange sponsorship of additional open to the public swim events. The cost of $2,500 for this sponsorship relates back to the cost recovery analysis on file.
So when I looked into this, I was like, okay, you can understand why people have questions, right? Because nobody saw this advertised to the public. So they were
The swim or what?
the opportunity for a business to, right. That's the question people were asking.
Okay.
And we don't have to
I've
agree.
asked it
It's not
before.
our,
I've
it's
asked
not
it before for
our
St.
job to
Charles.
agree with whether or not the public is allowed to have a question. That's the question that they were asking. And so when I looked in our bylaws, I saw section 5.3, the approval of a conflict of interest transaction. And it was where a board member has a financial transaction with themselves or a business.
For gain, though? Does it say for gain?
Well,
That's related to expenses and conflicts of interest. It's not related
Yeah,
to
not
donations.
the donation. You can't have conflict of interest with a donation that gets no gain. Like what would Frank gain out of doing a
Did-
donation?
Here's the thing is as board members, we're tasked with understanding people's concerns and what can we do to answer it?
But this is not the question right now. Would you like to see more investigation into that complaint number? It's
I
yes
am,
or no.
okay, I am saying that we could have provided a productive answer to the public that said there is no financial gain. Some members of the public communicated, including Susan, that they felt that there was a financial gain in the fact that there was advertisement available and that there was, the questions were who.
I did respond on social media to those particular questions. Susan might not have heard it, but there is no financial gain. But you keep avoiding the question. And we could be.
I'm not trying to avoid the question.
Do you want this investigated further? That's all there is to these 23 items. Are there any that you want investigated further?
But I guess going forward on point 13, we could try to do a better job advertising again, because we've done this in the past. Many businesses out there are very generous. So
it could have been a very easy, as soon as we heard the concern, instead of criticizing people for having a concern and posting about it on social media, we could have put it on the agenda and said, this is what transpired. We hear the questions. Let's take a board vote. We were all fine with it. Obviously, it's a good thing that Frank did. And it does, I mean, I don't
Part
know.
of this
I
though
don't-
is like, I feel like at some point we're micromanaging everything our executive director does.
Yeah.
She like gets contacted by a business that wants to donate. It happens to be a board member. But if it was anyone else, would this have gotten flagged?
No, it
Like-
got flagged because it is a board member. That's the,
But why does that matter? I'm getting also ridiculed because I wanted to put my kid in swim team because it was the only option last summer. But I'm getting accused as a board member of taking advantage and making there be swim team so that my kid could do it. My kid hates swim team. I made him do it because it was the only sport available. But I'm getting accused because I'm a board member and my kid happened to be on there because I made him do it
Mhm.
of opening the pool all summer just for my own child, one of my 4 children that I wanted to learn how to swim. Like, there's also a fine line. We're all volunteers. It doesn't mean we can't use the public organization, donate to it. Like, there's no anything anywhere that says that we can't be involved in the district and go there and utilize it. Like, am I not allowed to prescribe, are we going to make all these policies so that like I'm not allowed to prescribe my patients to go there?
It's not about making
It feels like
policy.
we're getting
It's
to that
just about answering a question. Like the public has a concern and we just meet them halfway and say,
But
this
this
is what happened. There's nothing to worry
a lot
about.
of these concerns feel like they're micromanaging us overseeing every single day-to-day decision that our executive director makes. And I think that's not our prerogative. We can't oversee every single thing that she does, or we might as well be the executive director, which I don't think we want to do. But this is getting into like the nitty-gritty of like all these questions that are listed here. If we went through that on every single daily operational thing Courtney did,
Mhm.
we would have a board meeting like every night
Yeah.
or at least weekly for hours to go through this level of detail of everything she's tasked with. I don't know.
I don't disagree with you. And
So I get there's a
When
problem
she
with the
submitted it,
response.
she
Potentially,
said-
yes, but
yeah, when she submitted it, she said that it was the whole year's worth of complaints that
right.
she said that.
Yeah.
And so it is an enormous thing. And I don't think that we can reasonably answer every single one. So I guess that's the answer to the question. I just would say that as a board, it's probably time for us to evaluate how we're communicating with people who have concerns. And
Okay, so here's maybe a reasonable solution. On a board agenda, we discuss adjusting the policy in our manual that says as soon as we receive a donation, it can be anonymous. It can be, if they don't want their name done or in it, then it's anonymous. But if they don't care, then we announce that we have received this donation. But that would be a policy adjustment. We can't just say, okay, we're going to do this when it violates our policy. So I would be amenable to a discussion on that. But then that solves what I understand is your complaint or your concern is that it wasn't posted that I made the donation. And if that's something that the board wants to do, we can discuss it and make a policy change. Get it?
Well, that covers like 2 complaints, right? Because there's the other complaint about the mention of the potential donation that wanted to be anonymous. Not going into that for that number.
$1,000 donation that was anonymous. I think they understand now that it's out there. Our answer was there is no legal requirement to disclose donor information as some wish to remain anonymous. Donation amounts are reflected in the general fund financials 1-50000. I don't think that's anything that needs to be investigated.
We've hashed this. I move that our response to the 23 complaints is no additional information or research
To investigate.
provides.
If the board concurs that action must be taken, they will take a formal vote. Okay, so Frank is saying the board voted this and made reasons for the district's a final written.
So we don't actually have to make a motion. We just
It's
need to
against the
vote.
board as a whole. Well, I know Susan's reading this, so I gotta make sure you got it right.
Yeah.
Against the board as a whole ordinance. Should be heard. So these cover a broad. If the board decides an investigation is warranted, the board may refer the investigation to a third party. So I believe what Frank is saying at this time, we do not believe that an investigation is warranted. And he's made that motion.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah, that is correct.
I am looking for a second.
Second.
Second by Janelle. All those in favor?
I,
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Okay, we shall put item 12 to rest. Now, do we think it's possible to continue on with item 14 without Irby here?
I'd like to see them count.
Yeah, like to see Irby here. And I've sent emails to everybody. Cora and I have worked with Courtney back and forth a little bit on a 1-year contract. Right now, the terms are $97,000 for the year with a 3-month severance package, benefit package to remain the same as prior years. What else, Cora, was in that?
The vacation to be accrued per the policy
The
manual,
policy manual, yes.
and the no outside employment clause.
In other words, we just decided it's in our best interest of the district not to deviate from that employee manual at this time in the executive director contract. So if everybody would just take the time to read through that material, we will try to schedule a Thursday meeting.
Irby is available at 5 o'clock on Thursday, if that
I
works.
shall change my plans and make it. Yeah.
Are you available?
He can make himself available begrudgingly, probably. And then also Thursday, if Cora, if you have time, we can address those minutes.
Yeah, I can review the minutes. I would just ask why have me review the minutes if then they go behind me and are changed, But I will
Are you
do
saying
that.
that adopted minutes have been changed?
Not adopted minutes.
Okay,
the-
that's why you're reviewing them, so that
Yeah.
we adopt them. Yeah.
Okay.
Anything else?
Madam Vice Chair, so we are postponing items 11, B, and C, and item 14 to Thursday, June 25th at 5 p.m.
Yes.
And we will plan to hold that meeting at the Madras Aquatic Center.
That doesn't interfere with no, okay, at 5 o'clock.
We'll just make sure they're out of the room by then.
Okay. And you can get that noticed tomorrow.
Yep, I will get that noticed.
Is there anything else board needs to discuss? Anything else we missed?
Did we need to discuss the Courtney's supplemental offer on the contract or?
I think at the next.
I don't have it in front of me, but they were sent the emails
Yeah.
for review.
So you have printouts in front of you that have all the documentation of the board subcommittees.
This is ridiculous to burn up this much paper.
Yeah.
I have it in my emails. I'm not even going to bother to try to find it in here, to be honest.
Yeah, and you also received it via email.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Yeah, more discussion?
Did we already do everything else on the agenda? Yeah.
We have covered everything else. We even did board member highlights waiting for you to arrive.
Jeez, I'm so sorry. A lot of sick people. Okay. No.
No more
That is not-
discussion?
No.
Anything? Meeting adjourned at 8:11. Thank you all.